Now you can talk. It shuts it off.
Oh, does it? Okay.
Yeah, you don't have to hold it the whole time.
Chaim, Chaim.
Chaim.
L'chaim.
Chaim.
This is for the Yurt side, no, Shlomi? Amen.
Yeah, the Babas and Zaidas. Babas and Zaida.
Yeah.
I'm sure my Shver is going to join, I hope.
There's the handmaids.
Maybe it's too late for him.
No, I think he knows about it, right?
He knows about it, but it could be too late for him.
Okay.
He was on for Abshia.
Yeah, I saw.
Spoke very nicely. Very nice.
L'chaim. This is not my first one already.
Libel, check out the loop tomorrow. We got a nice picture of you.
Oh, really? Okay, we'll check it out.
It's not, Shlomi, it's one thing to set up ABC, but I got 2 calls tonight from both rooms that something was not going wrong. And I think it was related to one. Rabbi Rabanowitz is giving shir together with Meir.
Right.
And he was having some kind of echo. And then Yankel Lev dialed into there to try to figure out why it was crazy. Meir.
Wow.
Yankolev.
Did you guys see?
He was so annoyed.
Rabbi Levy on tonight?
Yes.
Yeah.
That was so
Priceless.
beautiful. I took a screenshot and I sent it to Shmuley, his son, just to tell him what kind of knockus I got just to watch, just to see him there.
Wow.
He goes, "Who do you think put him on?" He was on TeamViewer with him and hooked him up. Very nice.
Wow. So he enjoy. So I think he calls in for. I should check the ratings and the analytics. I know who's watching what, right?
Yeah.
But I think he's
We're gonna call
dialing
you
in.
Nielsen.
That's right. I think he's dialing into Reb David Hofstadter's shir.
I'm sure he is. He loved going to that year. He loved going to that.
Okay, we'll find out where Mendel's coming. Yeah, he's online.
It's on YouTube also.
Ready?
Yeah, I'm streaming it live on YouTube as well. So if you just want to watch it without having to see other people's faces, you can go to YouTube. And
You know
it'll
that one
automatically.
shear that I missed. What was it, Monday or Tuesday this week? And I went back. I ended up listening to Rabbi Elephant instead, but it was very clear Yossi shear. And that was when you direct streamed right from.
And it was clear, right?
Very clear.
Very clear. Yeah.
I went on to watch the end to make sure that I ended in the same spot. Very clear.
Okay. I'm trying to figure out how do you get to be the middle square. I know right now it looks like Hollywood squares. So how do you get to move it to the middle guy? You want to get the middle guy.
Well, the top left is always the host. The next one is you.
The top left is a host. The next one is you.
You yourself, usually not.
Because I'm a co-host. That's why. And then it goes by who dialed in order. See, Mayor was there.
It shouldn't.
But now you're the host now. It has you as the host.
It has
me as the co-host.
Yes, because
you're a co-host. You were there. Let's say, Dr. Langer, you're not on the top row of your screen. You can't hear me. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
you could. Now he's hearing you.
Oh,
I'm on the top row on my computer.
Yeah, everybody's on the top row of theirs. I'm also on the top row. Libel, you're not on the top? Yeah.
I am top left. On my computer, I see myself top left.
Yeah, I always stay to the top. Yeah.
You should be top right.
You're always, huh?
You should be top right, not top left.
No, in the Vel, top left is number one.
Okay, yeah.
Because in English,
touch link. He wants a touch link. Okay, hang on a second.
We won't see him?
Yeah. No. He's just having
L'chaim Atala.
L'chaim.
L'chaim Avremel.
Hold on.
Davidal, how are you?
Mendel. Where is he?
Akiva, you should have gotten me to arrange it.
Oh, Avi. How are you? Where are you calling from? You're back home?
He's muted.
Yeah, he's muted.
Okay, now.
I'm assuming he's not in his parents' house. Let me see.
He won't unmute. I tried unmuting him. He doesn't unmute.
Warum? Ich like the microphone nicht also von hinten, siehst du aus Modne. Like the computer heche.
Sit back, relax. There you go.
There we go.
There you go.
Yeah.
He's giving you tips.
Hi, do you know if the password is right? I have 129 is incorrect.
No, it's
It is.
correct.
129
I hear you.
Well,
Yes,
you
it
got
is.
in.
No, I'm with my cell phone, but I'm trying to get it on the computer and it shows me incorrect password.
Yeah, it's correct.
Maybe you have
And
to
the
have the right
computer
ID
is
number.
correct.
Maybe you had the wrong ID number. Try again on the ID number.
605
Yeah, I tried twice.
603-550-7613.
Here's Remendel, but he's sideways.
Hmm.
Remendel, you're sideways and muted.
You have to turn it.
No,
Ah.
this is the other way. You're supposed to. No. Let's get this.
Now I got to look like this.
And they only had one L'chaim.
I don't know. We're going the other way. You have to figure this out. You hear me?
You're perfect. Yeah.
Okay. So now what happens when we go this way? Oh, now you're all this way. Very good.
Awesome.
Right. Unfortunately, all of you are gonna have to go back and forth because
I entered the
I'm on an
password
iPhone.
and I entered the same thing on the iPhone, and the iPhone works. The iPhone works, but not the computer. Yeah. Okay, well. He told me to enter the right one, which I did. I entered exactly the same.
Hello.
Yes, we hear you.
You hear me?
Yeah, we hear you. Everybody hears you.
All right. First of all, L'chaim L'bracha.
Hi.
All right. Be nice to me, everybody. I'm in recovery. It's late at night for me.
Recovery from?
Corona.
Ah, Baruch
Oh.
Refuah.
Thank you.
Refuah Shalema.
Amen. So I do have a tremendous amount of fatigue, and with Abish's help, I hope I'm still be at top of my game. But I thought I would let you know in advance. All right, good. So we're gonna learn a little. We're gonna talk a little. What's on the menu for tonight?
What happened to our host? Where is he?
He's muted. I don't know.
He's busy.
I can't.
he's got other.
Give you flying an airplane over there? What do you have in your head?
No.
There he is.
Chaim L'bracha. Chaim.
Amen.
Chaim Akiva.
Shlomi Goldreich sponsored it. Lein Nishmas, his parents. Rivka Bas, Reb Menachem Mendel Halevi. And tomorrow, the yard site of his father, Simcha Moshe, Reb Shlomo Olvishol. L'chaim.
Chaim.
L'chaim to my grandparents. L'chaim.
Right.
Amen. L'chaim. Meisha. Fill me up with some water, please. More hot water, please. Thank you. All right, Akiva, what's the program?
The program is for you to speak, and then we're going to ask you some questions, hopefully that you may not have the answers for, which is unlikely, but we'll try.
I told you weren't listening. I say you have to be nice to me. I'm in recovery. You have to be.
No problem.
All right. So Parshas Achrei Meis Kadeshim has many themes which are not mutually exclusive, but I guess we'll take it from the top. So the parsha begins by Yadaber Hashem el Moshe. The Eibishter speaks to Moshe, And the immediate corollary, if you will, between the first parsha and the second parsha of today's Parshas Hashavua is we don't just get Vaydaber Hashem al Mesha, but in the first parsha in Achrei Meis we have identification as to when this takes place. Achrei Meis Shnei Bnei Aharon B'Kavasum L'Fnei Hashem Vayamusu. That we're told that this communication that the Eibishter is speaking to Moshe Rabbeinu is following the tragic loss of the children of Aaron. And we get to Parshas Kadeshim. So the parsha opens up with a typical pasuk, Vaydaber Hashem al Moshe Leimer, but then it goes on to say Daber al Kol Hadas B'nei Yisrael. We don't hear specifically when the communication takes place, but we hear details, unusual details, about to whom the communication takes place. Namely, that it's Kol Hadas B'nei Yisrael, the entirety of the Jewish people. So on a simple pshat level, not everybody showed up for shir. Some people were busy in their tents. I'm not sure what there was to do in the desert, but people found things to do, excuses. The Panim Yafis is nicer. He says not everybody could understand Moshe Rabbeinu. Some people didn't feel they were on the Madrega. But the Eibishter told him when it comes to Parshas Kadeshim, because the foundational essence of the Torah, and enormous parts of the body of the Torah are linked to it and hinge upon it. So b'meila, Parsha Zuba Hakel. The Parsha has to be said at a time when Moshe Rabbeinu brought together Kol Hadas B'nei Yisrael. Everybody had to be present. Good. So this is understandable that the Eibishter says this Parsha is different. This Parsha, everybody has to be present and everybody has to hear it from Moshe Rabbeinu himself. But Parshas Achrei Meis is very, very mysterious, the way it begins. L'may nafka mina, that the Parsha was told, Achrei Shnei Bnei, Meis Shnei Bnei Aharon. L'may nafka mina. And it can't be simply that the Parsha is Achrei Meis Bnei Aharon, because by Pashtos, most of Teres HaKarbonis is Achrei Meis Bnei Aharon. There's an emphasis on this is not in a distant way, it's not an after the timeline of Bnei Aharon, but it's Achrei Meis Shnei Bnei Aharon in a very imminent and immediate way. In the Lashon HaChizkuni, the Chizkuni says that he brings down Rashi, and we'll get to Rashi in a minute. But then the Chizkuni finishes off by saying that this parsha was Bei Bayim Shehukam HaMishkan. On the very day that the Mishkan was established, which means, in other words, Rosh Chodesh Nisan, because on that day, Aaron's children passed, because they were taken on that day. So, and that was because of Bia Shalei L'Tzedek. They came in a way that was unnecessary, unneeded, unwarranted. So therefore, Nemra be'Eisa Yem, Eisa Azhar, and that's why the Azhar has to come to Aaron be'Eisa Hayem on that day. Not everybody holds like the Chizkuni, but it seems pretty clear that if it wasn't be'Eisa Hayem, it was certainly within earshot and eyeshot of that event. It was within the shadow of that event that after the Jewish people and Aaron HaKohen were under the influence of this tragedy, that's when Moshe Rabbeinu speaks to Aaron HaKohen. That's when the Eibishter tells him to speak to Aaron HaKohen. So this helps us appreciate the Rashi's opening words. Rashi says, "Vayidaber Hashem el Moshe Achrei Meis Shnei Bnei Aharon v'Gomer." When Rashi adds the words v'Gomer, in other words, he's mefarish not only the words Achrei Meis Shnei Bnei Aharon, but he's also including the next four words, B'Korvasim L'Fnei Hashem Vayamusu. That it's not just simply you have to know that this was something that was communicated. As the Eibishter said to Moshe Rabbeinu, make sure to tell Aaron HaKohen, tell it to him after, but it was specifically because, B'Korvasam, as they drew close, because, in other words, linking the fact that they died to the way they died, to the way this tzivoy has to be given. So Rashi asks, and this is unusual, oftentimes Rashi doesn't ask you, doesn't tell you what the kasha is. The question you have to figure out by yourself. But here, Rashi spells out the question for you. And he says, Ma Talmud Leiman. What is this pasuk trying to teach us? What are we being informed? What is the message here? Why do you have to mention the inyan of Misas B'nei Aharon? So clearly, the fact that Misas B'nei Aharon were the result of B'Karvasim of Hashem, that specifically leads us into Vayemer Hashem al Moshe, specifically leads us into the Eibishter telling Moshe Rabbeinu. What's the pshat? Why does that lead us? Why does one lead us into the next? Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah Meishle. Rashi, Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah used the following parable. He would speak of this in parabolic terms, and he would be able to portray or present to us a picture of why the tzivui had to be given specifically in this fashion, with an emphasis on what happened. The mashal, the metaphor is that a person who was ill, and the doctor made a house call. Not like today, you wouldn't come near his house, so you wear a mask today. But the doctor made a house call. Amar Lei, the doctor tells this fellow who's burning up with fever, Im teichal tzeina, if you're going to eat cold things, so if you are craving some ice cream or a Slurpee, it's a bad idea. Va'al tishkav b'tachav, don't lie in a cold and damp environment. Good. The guy's burning up with fever, and the doctor gave him advice, medical advice. He said, don't drink cold things, and don't go to a damp environment, a cool environment. Ba'acher, another doctor comes, va'omar lei, and he says to the same patient, al teichel tzeinon, va'al tishka b'tachav, he gives him the same prescription, same instructions. Don't eat cold food. Don't try to lie in a damp or cool place. But this doctor adds something else. He says, don't do this so that you won't die as so-and-so died. The Parshas, he names a person that this person knew, the patient knew. So the Rashi says, quoting Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, it's obvious that the second doctor's warning was more efficacious. The first doctor told him, don't do these things. I'm warning you, don't do that. Okay, don't do it. When the second doctor came along and he said, don't do it, because a person that you know died as a result of this, that really got him to listen. Therefore it says, Achrei shnei bnei Aharon, after the death of the two sons of Aaron. In other words, the opening commandment over here is going to be that you shouldn't try to enter the inner sanctum at any time. You should only come and you won't die. Only ba'anan, Rashi explains to us in two ways of understanding it. Ki ba'anan, because the Shechina is there, and therefore it's an area that shouldn't be penetrated. Or because ki ba'anan, you have to come only when you have the plume of smoke of Keteris, which the Torah tells Aaron to bring only on Yom Kippur. So Akopanim, since he's telling him about not going into the Kedesh HaKadoshim, and since Aaron's children went into the Kedesh HaKadoshim, and it had fatal consequences, so as such, the doctor who's warning him by telling him, don't do this, because this is what happened, there's a Yesem and Arishan. This got Aaron HaKohen to listen. This got Aaron HaKohen to, so to speak, to obey the doctor's instructions, to listen to the Tzivah Hashem. And as the Chizkuni says, this was a very immediate thing. It's like almost shocking. The Chizkuni learned Pshat and Rashi, that it was Bei Bayim, that the bodies were still warm, that we don't even know if Aaron's children were buried yet, or there's a fresh grave. It's mamash, he's reeling from the loss of his children. And Moshe Rabbeinu comes to him, and he essentially says to him, you see what just happened? That's what's going to happen to you. You really have to, you got to behave. You have to follow what the Eibishter tells you. Because if you don't follow what the Eibishter tells you, then this will be your fate. Okay, in a level of pshat, most people swallow this wholesale and they move on. But I'm going to ask you to think about this for a minute. You think about what's happening here. First of all, Aaron HaKohen is the person that already Rashi told us, even a child already knows, that he's the person, the shvachei shalar and shalei. He didn't color outside the lines. And even when Aaron HaKohen was involved in the Egel, and even according to the Pshat, that Bayotzar Becheret, that Aaron actually made the tzir of the Egel, as the Barbanel explains, that this was, Aaron HaKohen was trying to focus the energies of the Yidden onto a davar shebekdusha. Al derech the yin of kruvim, like the nace, the snake that Moshe Rabbeinu made later. Aaron HaKohen never intended chas v'shalom hoy l'siyah to make an egel. And that's why he says to Moshe, I don't know what happened. V'yotza egel hazeh. This is not the egel I made. I made something to focus their attention, l'shamayim. This is an egel hazeh. This spun out of control. This is not what I did. Aaron HaKohen is one of the greatest tzaddikim of all time. So what is going on over here? If the Eibishter wouldn't tell Aaron HaKohen, hey, Hezekiah, Aaron, if you're going to go into the Kodesh HaKadoshim, then you're going to die. Then he wouldn't listen. Feel applying. Oh, but who are we speaking? And ask you a bigger question. You and I are not such big tzaddikim. And nobody says, Shaloi Shina, that we never change anything. And I challenge you to find once in the Torah where the Eibishter comes with a mitzvah. He says, Ani Hashem, Neman L'Shalom Sachar, I'll exact payment. But show me one time in the Torah the Eibishter told us, the Yidden who made the Egel, that you better not do this or you're going to die. And he pointed a finger at somebody who died. He said, you know, if you misbehave, that's what you're going to look like. The Eibishter says, Neman L'Shalom Sachar. The Eibishter says that the Einli Tzerich Bachem. There's some sharp words in the end of Parshas Achrei, the sharp words in Parshas Kadeshim. There are sharp words, but never a time when we actually get a finger pointed at us and we see the Eibishter telling us, "Don't do this, so that's going to happen to you." Mamish, like an all-out threat. So we don't get that kind of treatment, but Aaron HaKohen gets that treatment. I mean, let's talk about this with B'chinas Enushi. Forget about Al Tenachameu B'Shashem Meisim Mutal Lefanov. This is mamash einor. Like you come to a person, it's a mitzvah Torah. It's a nos dvarim mamash. A nos dvarim is one of the things of a nos dvarim is when you come to a person and you say, you know why you're suffering? You did avedus. It's a nos dvarim. It's a leisase. Here the Eibishter comes, and it's not stam einor. Aaron is reeling from the loss of his beloved children. None of us should ever know what that means. His two wonderful children, Gedele Atzadikim, bigger than Mesha, bigger than Aaron. And they made a mistake, a tragic mistake, a mistake that cost them their lives. And Moshe Rabbeinu Nebuch has to come to Aaron and say, Aaron HaKohen, I just want you to know, like your children died. This is what awaits you too. It's like rubbing it in his face. And it has to be Mamish Beibayim. It's mind-blowing. It's mind-blowing. What is the Eibishter teaching us here? It's interesting that in the Sforno, he talks about the fact that Pasuk Aleph is Vayedaber, the Pasuk Beis is Vayomer. So B'chlal, the difference between Vayedaber and Vayomer, I mean, most people know this from the Rashi with Keisomer Leveis Yankev, V'sagid Levnei Yisrael, but it's actually, you find it many, many times. There's many times the Chumash Bereshis already, Rashi alludes to this, and it's not only in Rashi. It's many of the Parshanim HaMikra use the words of Chazal. It's really something that if you have your eyes open, when you learn Torah, you'll see, especially when you learn the Chumash, very, very often, if you look where you see a Vayedaber, look where you see a Vayomer, you'll see that there's usually a Lashon Raka, or there's strong, like softly spoken or tough talk. You can usually see that difference. But here, you can't say that. Because l'chayda, it's one dibur. I mean, it's the same thing. So why would you start off Vayedaber and then switch to Vayomer? So the Sefarno says a very interesting thing. He says, we know that there's a hevdil. It's not the same. Vayedaber is not the same as Vayomer. So he suggests that over here, dibur is an inyan klali. Dibur is people. It's an overarching talk. People I'm going to give you a talk about something. A talk about something is not instructions. And then you say to me, okay, so please just say it. Exactly what do you want? I got the talk. I got the general, the plurality of the subject has been covered. Now let's just say it. So he says that there's this inyan of dibur, which is inyan klali, but amira, he says, is misyachas to the pratim. And as I understand the Sefarno, and I could be wrong, but I'm looking at the Sefarno through the prism of Rashi, especially as the Chizkuni explains it. So it sounds almost like Moshe was saying two things to Aaron. First of all, this is the scenery. It's like a painter who's first doing the background. And after I flesh in the background, after I paint in the panorama, then I get into the details. First, he gives Aaron the overarching background is Aaron. Meredwegen, we're speaking about going into Kedesh HaKadoshim. Aaron, it's not a joke. This is banane ra. This is serious stuff. You're walking into the epicenter of a nuclear reactor. The slightest nuance, the smallest mistake, it costs you your life. Quite literally. It costs your children their lives. It could cost you your life. This is the background. This is the inyan klali. That's the Vaydaber. And then we'll go Vayomer. The Eibishter now, Moshe Vayomer Hashem Moshe. The Eibishter says, going into the Pratim now. And again, but it goes back to Daber. Daber Alarin. It's harsh talk again. Went from Pratim, Daber Alarin, and Al Yavi B'chalei Salah Kedesh, and B'zeis Yavi Aaron. And we get the balance of Avedas Yom Kippurim. Towards the end, we hear about the inyan of things which last forever, things which are permanent, and that's the concept of the abstentions of Yom Kippurim. But Sof Kol Sof, Parshas Yom Kippurim is heralded with this very, very unusual reference, a very, very unusual direct link, if you will, to the mistake of Nadav and Avihu, and to the emphasis that the Eibishter placed on Aaron prior to giving him the mitzvah of Yom Kippurim, because the mitzvah of Yom Kippurim entails the entrance into Kedesh HaKadoshim. So this is, I think this is a reasonable question. I think actually if you read the Chumash and try to relate to it, and you don't ask this question, that you didn't actually stop to think what you just read. If you stop to think about how the parsha opens, and you stop to internalize the words of Rashi, as the Pashtani Rashi explain it, it's mamish. It's a mind-blowing challenge. What in heaven is going on over here? Anybody want to comment before I go on? Huh?
So it's really, from what you said, it's only really the Chizkuni's pshat and Rashi.
No, everybody.
It's not necessarily.
Chizkuni says mamish baybayim. So others maybe say not mamish baybayim. Everybody learns like this. Everybody learns like this. There's no other way to learn Rashi. Whether it was baybayim with 3 days later, there's not different ways to learn Rashi.
No, 3 days later is not the same kind of.
3 days later is good. So it's a little less harsh. And first of all, and the Chizkuni learns pshat like that is okay. This you could dismiss. There's not a problem.
No, I'm not saying. No, I would want to understand it. That's the only way to say Rashi.
The Pashtos, that's the understanding of Rashi. I mean, you have to stop and think about it. Don't just rush through it. Stop and think about it. But the Pashtos, that's what Rashi says. It's mamish pila ploim. It's pila ploim. I didn't say you any big chedushim. I simply read Rashi in English. You know, I had a yeshiva. His name is Moshe Wahlberg. He used to. I mean, most of the shiurim in yeshiva were in Yiddish. So sometimes he would say, he's an American boy, you know. He would say, all right, now let's speak in English and actually understand what we're saying. But that hele keverte and the Rashiva speaking Yiddish, you know, the Bachrim speak Yiddish, but they don't really speak Yiddish so well. I said, okay, now let's speak in English and let's speak in English. Let's talk about this, as they say in Hebrew and Ivrit Dugri. Let's speak about this. Like, well, what is going on? The Mama Lushan, the Tatas Lushan, Omer in Tatens Tatnarein. Let's be real. Let's be real. What just happened over here? It's mamash a darsheni kind of thing. So the hasbara, as I heard it from my Rebbe, the Pashtos. Before we get to the hasbara, which is based on, you give me a second, I have to close the door, 1 second. Which is based on the Chaim's approach. But the Rebbe asked almost like a technical question about this Rashi. He says, let's say the mashal is a mashal. I mean, that's the pshat. There's no other way to learn pshat. It's the simple pshat. That's what's going on over here. The Eibishter emphasizes Achrei Shnei Mei Shnei B'nei Ahara. Fine. But he says, why'd there have to be a mashal with a chela? Because Aaron is a kranke mensch. If you come to a healthy person and he's working in a nuclear reactor, and you tell him, listen, my friend, this is not a simple place to work. It's called Chernobyl, or the other, who knows how many reactors the Russians operate. And he said, if you're not going to be careful, you remember the story in Chernobyl? You remember what happened? You remember the two-headed deers, and you remember all those people dying? Okay, listen here. If you're going to push the wrong button, you're going to turn the wrong thing, that's what's going to happen over here too. A gesunter Mensch, a healthy person, a smart guy, he's well paid, comes into a job, and he gets warned. You have a very serious responsibility. This is a big job. Why does it have to be a chayla? Why does it have to be a sick person? Everything Chazal said was an amaydadik diuk. And clearly, the patient here is Adam. So why did Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah have to talk about a chayla? And another question, even when we have certain mitzvahs that were given in Parshas Shmini, when it says, L'mashal yayin v'sheichar al teisht, and we know that one of the explanations of Chazal, Rashi quotes it, Shisuyin yayin nichnasu, which is a subject in and of itself, what exactly that means. It's not exactly like two hillbillies, chas v'shalom, who drank too much beer and then acted in a wild way, chas v'shalom, hoy l'siyah. Talk about Kadeshi Elyon over here. What exactly does it mean, Shisuyi Yayin? But this is a story for a different night. But Akopanim, over there, we don't have that warning. We don't have that warning attached.
Akiva Reb Mendel just booked the sequel.
This is I'm be a sequel in before this. This is Parsha Shmini. This is almost a year from now.
Well, really, this Shabbos we should have been at the oil. So we could have said,
Right.
"Oh, we'll talk about it tomorrow," or at 2:00 in the morning.
All right, I told you I don't have the keiches. I'm gonna soon I go down. And anyway, the point over here is that there are other mitzvahs which are directly related to kahuna, and they are directly derived from what Nadav and Avihu did. And by those mitzvahs, we do not find an emphasis on don't do what they did, because look at the fatal consequences. Only when it comes to this mitzvah of knisa lefnai or lefnim, or the isra knisa lefnai or lefnim, that's where we have this emphasis. Hello, be careful. Look what happened to Nadav and Avihu. So the Rebbe says the hasbara, the beer is like this. Even healthy people sometimes need to be warned. It's human nature. Human nature is that people have to be reminded and people have to be warned. There are many people in the community who ask me about minyanim outdoors. And I'm not going to talk about porch minyanim, because a porch is different, because at a porch you're basically in a cage. And you can't go out of your cage. I don't know. Here all the porches are in the backyard and you can't even see anybody else. But assuming it's more like Brooklyn at Bathurst and Lawrence and porches are in the front and the people can actually see each other, okay, fine. I know Reb Shlomo wrote a letter that he said he's not going to ask the porch minyanim. Stay there. But the emphasis is porch minyanim. And the reason is because you're in a cage. But if you take people out of a cage and you tell people they should stand 6 feet apart, human nature is the first day they stand 6 feet apart. The second day they stand 6 feet apart. By day 4 or 5, maybe it's 5 feet apart. Or maybe somebody who doesn't usually over there. Human nature is such that people will end up together. It's not shaykh any other way. Therefore, my humble opinion is that the minyanim has to be outlawed because we're retting pekuach nefesh mamash, and it's not possible for human beings to walk on a tightrope. And this is one of the first responsibilities that the Chachamim gave us. Asus yagla Torah. The fact remains that the Chacham took away the mitzvah of Tkiyah Shefer from tzaddikim, gedolim, v'tevim, and they are not mekayim the mitzvah of Tkiyah Shefer min HaTorah on the first day. There is no second day min HaTorah. You're not mekayim the mitzvah of Tkiyah Shefer. Parsha took away the mitzvah of Tkiyah Shefer and took away the mitzvah of lulav and esrog. Why? Because Shema Yavirenu. Shema Yavirenu. Atu b'shutfena askinan. Who is Shema Yavirenu? What kind of idiot is this? Guy he didn't know, was it Rosh Hashanah? Was it a surprise? You know that you're not going to be able to blow shofar, so learn how to blow shofar before. No, human nature stuff happens. He didn't know, somebody got sick, it was last minute. He learned how to blow shofar. He was excited. Human nature. It took away a mitzvah of Arba Minim. Tkiyah shofar is a mitzvah, gedela, rama, v'nasa, a meidik mitzvah. A once-a-year mitzvah, a mitzvah that's connected to the inyan of Achtaras HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's a big deal, Tkiyah shofar, a huge mitzvah. But the Chacham took it away. Why? Because of the nature of human beings. You cannot get away from human nature. And HaTorah le'nitna le'malache hashadas. The Torah was given to human beings. And because the Torah is given to human beings, it's said to shmartem ha'edlen nafshesechem. Friedrich Rebbe once said, "Steht in kein Ort nicht in Torah shmartem es nafshesechem." It's a shmartem ha'ed. And to make the assumption that all the people can be mindful all the time is simply hepech HaTorah. Hepech HaTorah, because Torah recognizes the foibles of human nature. People have to be warned. That's the reality. And we find it in our workplaces. We find that in any place where there's some kind of danger, people get warned. People get warned all the time. And if you warn the person, don't do this, don't do this. You don't have to come along and tell a person, don't do this or you're going to die. Or not only are you going to die, you're going to die like the last person who didn't listen to me. Come along and tell a person, don't do this because there could be fatal consequences. That's usually good enough. It's usually good enough. You don't have to point at somebody. A gesunte Mensch, a healthy person, b'derech klal, does not need examples to make the warning more effective. And therefore, b'chlal, the Torah is speaking to us as healthy people. The Torah doesn't come with hafchadas. The Torah doesn't come try to frighten us, spook us out, point at this one who suffered and that one who suffered. It says, Binu Shneis David there. The Taka says in Parshas Azino, it says you should look at every generation. Yeah, Taka. Okay, very good. Yeah, we should learn the lessons of history. But nowhere does Torah point out, grab a finger at us and say, you see, this person who died, that could be you. So if the Torah is talking in these terms, clearly we're dealing with a non-conventional, a non-normative situation. When the Torah has to come along and say, Shalayamus kederech shemeisu achedim or shemeis pleni, then we're speaking about a person who's compulsive. When you talk about people with compulsions, you talk about people, Rahman al-Islam, with addictions, you talk about people who have areas of life where they're sick. Warnings don't work. Warnings don't work. You come to a guy, there are never sick people out there. And let's not try to varnish things. I'll use an example that I think has to be spoken about today. There are people, Rahman al-Islam, that abuse children. And you can't trust people like this. And these people know exactly what's going to happen or what could happen. They're sick. They're sick people. They can't control themselves. What do you do? I once a shiloh. What do is a shiloh of somebody in the community. What do you do? I asked them to come to shul. And eventually, thank God, left the community and have to deal with it. But eventually, we spoke to big mumchim, and they said, the guys, Pasha cried to me, I want to daven in a shul. I said, you should know, I told him, that I have to tell kama v'kama people in the shul about the story. He begged me, don't tell the busha. I said, I have to tell kama v'kama people. Unless I said, I won't tell anybody, but you're not allowed in shul. I have to tell kama v'kama people. And you don't know who they are. You don't know who they are. You're going to be in shul at any time. There's 150 people. There's 5 people who know your story. I'm telling you, there's people, you don't know who they are. And you're never allowed to be in shul by yourself. The day you're in shul by yourself, you have an arrest warrant after you. You will never be allowed in the property again. So here's a person who literally has to be scared straight. He has to know that there are people, everybody who looks at him, never. It's a big rachmanis. My heart breaks for this man. He's a sick man. But he's a sick man. And my responsibility is to protect innocent children. And therefore, this sick individual has no choice but to get a warning and a system that literally reins him in. Why? Because it's compulsive. He's sick. He can't control himself. So when you're dealing with somebody who's sick, it's not enough to give a warning. When you're dealing with a sick person has to be parsha told, berachel bitcha aktana hanakate, excuse the pun, that this is not going to fly because he's sick and he's compulsive. And you never know what he's going to do. He doesn't himself know what he's going to do. He doesn't have control over himself. And as a kranke mensch, she's sick. And this, the Rebbe says, is what Rashi is trying to tell us when he speaks about Aaron HaKohen, and he speaks about Achrei. And what's the mashal? The mashal is about drinking cold things. The mashal is about trying to lie in a cool, damp place. A feverish person. A person's feverish, he can't control himself. Can't control himself. It's a kranke mensch. And you have these cravings. I had a baba le'aleinu nebuch who suffered from diabetes terribly. And she loved sweet things. And it was tragic. It was tragic. I was her anicle. I had to hide the cake on the table. It was tragic. It was mamash heartbreaking. She was not well, a sick woman. If she would eat the cake, she knew that she could go into toxic shock and worse. She knew this. She knew it. She couldn't control herself. She was sick. The sick person has cravings. A person, when they're sick and they have a craving, it's impossible to stop. You have to give the most stringent warnings. And sometimes even the most stringent warning doesn't help. That's the pshat Achrei. A person's feverish. So what are you doing? What are you drinking cold things for? It's the kranke mensch, you're sick. You need to drink hot tea. You need to stay in bed. You need tea and honey and lemon. The person is burning up with a fever. And because they're burning up with a fever, they can't control themselves. They just want to alleviate the craving. They want to alleviate the desire. They want to just cool off a little bit. The most natural thing in the world is to do the most unhealthy thing in the world. Dahainu, to try to cool themselves off with drinking something cold. By going into an air-conditioned area, let me just lay down. A relief. I was suffocating. It was so hot. I was burning with fever. I just want to feel better a little bit.
Air conditioning is always good.
Adam Korovitz Alatzme. Okay. The point, my friends, is like this. The mashal for Aaron is precise. Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah knew exactly what he's talking about. Moshe Rabbeinu saw what happened to Nadav and Avihu. The Rabbeinu Shalom sees that these are Yidden that are burning with a holy fever, a holy fire. Cheles ahava. Cheles ahava. Can't control themselves. Nadav and Avihu are Kadesh Elyon. Nadav and Avihu in some ways were greater than Moshe and Aaron. Behem Niskadesh. But Nadav and Avihu, they had this cheles ahava to cling to the Eibishter, to be swept up in a holy fire. It wasn't shaykh to control themselves. Eish Zara, Hido Halachim Nefer Rabban, which is, by the way, also the Pshat Suyayin. They put themselves into a state of artificial consciousness, higher consciousness. They got swept up. They let go of this world. They let go of this world. They wanted to be absorbed into the Kedusha, and they suffered Kleis HaNefesh. And the Eir HaChaim explains that this wasn't a punishment. It was a natural consequence. This is what Chelas Ahava looks like. This is what Kleis HaNefesh looks like. It was a Misas Neshika. I know you're going to ask me that the Aaron HaKohen Taka died Misas Neshika. In the Chanami, that's the proof. And the difference is that Rabbi Rashab says that the Neshika came to him. He didn't go to the Neshika. But it's exactly the point. How did Aaron die? Taka Mrs. Nashika. Where did Nadav and Avihu come from? Where did they came? They didn't come out of nowhere. They were like father, like son. This ahava, this chelas ahava to be close to the Eibishter that was pronounced in Nadav and Avihu, and maybe Yafakeh Ben, maybe they were them, it was even more pronounced. But ultimately, this is the genetically predisposed. This is Aaron HaKoyen. Aaron is Ish HaAhava. He was Eves HaBriyas, but you could be sure that he was Eves HaMokim. And he pulsated and he throbbed with Ava. And when you deal with somebody who pulsates and throbs with Ava, there's always a danger of Chayla Sahava. And this, my dear friends, the Pshat, where Aaron HaKoyen Moshe knew it's a sick person. It's Al Derech the Mashal. Chas v'shalom, not to be confused with any of the examples that I gave, but I just gave you graphic examples to explain to you the meaning. That's what Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah does to you. He says, Tzachela. A doctor comes in, the doctor says, I know you're not going to listen to me. I know you're not going to listen. Why is he going to listen? I know you're not going to listen because I know that ultimately you're a chayla. And a chayla has this compulsion. He can't control himself. You're going to rush the Aron HaKedesh. You're going to see you have an opportunity to go into Kedesh HaKadoshim, and you're going to let loose. You're going to get untethered. Moshe Rabbeinu comes to Aaron and he says, Aaron, Ochi, Achrei Shnei Bnei Aharon, a Yid has to know that the Eibishter needs the Shamas Begufim, that the Eibishter needs us to be gesund. The Eibishter doesn't need us la'alas hashamayma b'sara hashamayma. The Eibishter needs us to be gesund Yidden, healthy Yidden. The Eibishter needs us to keep body and soul together. The Eibishter needs us to be able to live in this world in a healthy way, in a balanced way, in a way that a Yid is able to fulfill his shlichus alei adamis, his mission of l'saken elam b'malchus shin dal yud, of fixing the world, of preparing the world for a time in which Mashiach will come, and a time in which everybody will see the Shekhinah. That's what this is about, my friends. And now everything becomes so clear. Now it makes perfect sense. And the Peladika thing, and this is Mamash a Pila Ployim. If you go to the end of the story of Yom Kippurim, what does it say? What's the final words of Rashi? Rashi opens up with this Chelas Ava. He opens up with this inability for Aaron to function. And if you look at the end of Pedek Tazayin, the very final pasuk, and the end of pasuk Lamedalet, it says, "Vayash kasetziva Hashem es Moshe." That Aaron did what Moshe told him. It's very interesting. Rashi says two very different things over there. Number one, he says, "Vayash kasetziva." Not he did it right away. Kishigia Yom Kippurim. But that's like Zeks Chadashim. For 6 months, Aaron is yearning to be able to finally go into the Kedesh HaKadoshim. 6 months he's yearning. Imagine the thing that you want, the thing that you have, you're predisposed to a compulsion. You're throbbing intensely with a desire to cling to this. You have to wait 6 months. And finally, the 6 months come, and what happens? What happens? Aaron didn't put on the big day kahuna only to be Mekayim Divrei HaMelech. It's a Peladika words. What he did, he didn't put on the Divrei. Why big day kahuna? Why they didn't go Lefnai or Lefnim Ela Mekayim Divrei HaMelech? So the Rebbe asks, the big day Hazov is much. It could get to your head a lot faster to wear big day Hazov, to wear a gem-studded breastplate and have these onyx epaulets and all this gold from Alazaitin. It could get to your head faster than wearing a bridal gown. Okay, it was taka beautiful, but it was white. There wasn't even sequins or pearls on it. It was white, plain white. But the Inyan is that the big day Azov was not made for Aaron HaKoyen per se. It was made for the kahuna. It was the clothing of the office. Clothing of the office. But these begadim were made for Aaron HaKoyen specifically, and specifically for this Yom Kippur. We know that Ve'inicham Sham, that Rambam Paskins, V'nicham Sham means you have to drop the clothes and going zemaisam. He never wears them again. Then everyone's asked a student kasha. It's mamish bittel. It's a baltashkas shein kamayu. Such expensive clothes, and you wear it once. It would be like a rich girl gets married. She was this beautiful wedding gown that cost thousands of dollars, and then threw it in the garbage. You say to her, "What are you doing? Give it to the gemach. Let another girl have a chance to wear a beautiful gown like this." It would be unconscionable. And here we have this beautiful clothes, and you can put it back in the closet, give it to the dry cleaners. You wear it again next year. It's not a question of Einanias v'Makam Ashiras. It's not bloyas. It's not worn out. It's a beautiful gown. Elamai, there's a special din by the big day kuna of Yom Kippurim. And the special din has to be made for this kohen. This kohen. The Rebbe says, the Rambam himself talks about tshuva. He says, when you come to the experience of tshuva, I'm not that same person. I'm a new person. When a kohen gadol went lefnai lefnim, he didn't come out the same person. The same person that went in is not the same person that came out. A whole new person. A new person next to him can put him. He's still alive. He needs a new set of clothes. So we know what brings forth the potential of kahuna, what activates and animates the ability of a kohen to serve in the Beis Hamikdash, the begadim. So here, Aaron knew that by putting on these begadim, he would have the ability to go into Kodesh HaKadoshim to fulfill his greatest yearning and his greatest desire. This is a compulsion that we can't even fathom. A taiva that literally cost nothing but their lives. A holy desire. And yet, when Aaron HaKohen did it, after 6 months of waiting, it was Kimekayim Gzeiras HaMelech. That's Aaron HaKohen. That's Aaron HaKohen, my friends. Never let him get him carried away on a spiritual trip. He never got carried away with allowing it to get to his head. It was never about him. It was about the Eibishter. It was about Kabbalah Zel Malchus Shamayim. And if you will, I'm going to go on a limb and I'll say that I understand the people who want to daven with these minyanim. I also want to daven with a minyan. I want you to know that from the age of 12, I didn't miss Kamat, not a day of mikveh. I passed 49. I'm saying Kapitel Nun a few months already. From the age of my not 12th birthday, but from the age of 12, it's almost mamash 40 years, almost 38 years. I haven't been in a mikveh. I haven't been in a mikveh in 7 weeks. The last day I was in the mikveh was the day before I left Berlin. The day my son got married, I went to mikveh. The next morning, I didn't make it to mikveh, and we got on a plane that day. My friends, I haven't been to mikveh since. I haven't heard Kriyas HaTorah since Chaf Adar. That's the last day I heard Kriyas HaTorah. I haven't answered Amen Yesh Merabah. I haven't had the chus to be in a minyan, to daven a minyan since Chaf Adar. It's Chaf Adar. It's Meshuggah. It's a disaster. It's a Meshuggah situation. I think I don't want to daven with a minyan. It's a goy. I think I don't have a desire to live like a normal yid. Will I get in a mikveh? My dear friends, it's not about what we want, and it's not about what our compulsions are. But us has to be one question. That's Kimekayim Gzeiras HaMelech. And if the Eibishter put us in a situation where Achmanu Litzlan, there's a question of sakana, there's a question where our lives are in danger, we have no choice. We have to be Mekayim. This is the Gzeiras HaMelech. We don't know why the Eibishter doesn't allow us to daven with a minyan. We don't know why the Eibishter doesn't allow us to have the privilege of being in a mikveh, the privilege of learning together with Yidden, the privilege of sitting together, even sitting together. Even sitting together is a privilege, and it's a meridic thing. We don't know why. We have to do it. We have to do what we do. Kimekayim Gzeiras HaMelech. Whatever is right, whatever is right by Shulchan Aruch, whatever is right by whatever the Psak Halacha tells us, that's what you didn't have to do today. And the Eibush does a helfen that the yearning shouldn't die down. The craving shouldn't die down. Aaron HaKohen was ba'ava. Everything he did is ba'ava. L'poel mamash was mekayim Gzeiras HaMelech. But Aaron HaKohen never did these things. Kal blutik. He did it the way the Eibush told him to do it. But at the same time, a yid has to try avei mitamidu shel Aaron, that we should have a chaylas ahava, and we should miss very, very much the part of our life that's not the seder. And the Eibush does a helfen that we should be zoichem Mirz Hashem to be able to return to a semblance of normal life. And while we're asking, as we betchen, that it shouldn't only come refuah, but zoshen zayin, the global refuah, to the greatest illness of all, and that's the Galus Hashchina, and the greatest refuah, which is Gili Hashchina, the coming of Mashiach, v'mheiro b'yameinu amen. L'chaim, l'chaim,
Amen. Is Mati here? Mati, are you here?
Rav Mendel.
Yeah.
I know I'm supposed to be going to sleep, but I was yearning to listen to you. I couldn't go to sleep.
Beautiful.
He said, Mati had a question. You try to bring some chazanim up to Victoria Lake. and there's no mikveh there. So they went to Reb Shia, and they wanted to know if to bring him in or not.
Yeah.
And the answer came back a few weeks later, because the question was, these boys never missed mikveh since their bar mitzvah. It's already 5 years, 6 years, and now they want to come to Victoria Lake to be Misameach. And Reb Shia told them, Judaism is not about setting records. That's the records. That's the answer. I hear it. You didn't miss since you're 49, but now,
I want to make the point that it's not a little thing for me. It's not it's a very big thing. It's a very big thing. Like and the mikvahs I went to are not always
49
clean.
levels of kedusha. It's memta shire kedusha.
Memta shari kedusha. Yeah. All right. It's interesting.
Rabbi always says that trying to go to the minyan is that's the Jewish Yetzirah. That's the Yiddish Yetzirah.
He's right. He's right.
Yeah.
But the Eibishter wants gesunte Yidden. That's ein gesunte Yidden. You know that there's the Balei HaTesvis asked the question, how come was 7 weeks Matan Teda? What's the Stam Mutchen Yidden? So what's going on over here? So the Balei HaTesvis saying that the Eibishter hat gewollt as Yidden, gesunte Yidden sollen sein mekabel Teda. Sein gesunte Yidden. So Taka, there was a nest. There were people who were blind, they were healed. But B'derech HaTeva, first you have to let Teva take its thing. B'derech HaTeva, you don't get healed from being blind and deaf. So that was a nest. But they were Tzebuzhevit, Tzebrochen, they were beaten and broken from Golos. They needed parsha time to convalesce. They're eating mon, they were drinking Beirish on Miriam. The weather was great. The climate controlled, and the same is Gevarin Gesund. And very interesting, the Erachayim says an endliche thing, but a different akudah. He says this was not just a force haguf, this is a force hanefesh. The kranke nefoshes, even the the taka there was giluyim, but it took time. That should be they should transform, and that transformation came. B'shas as idens and adurch, the counting, the yearning. By the way, the yearning is a chelik of the Agudah. That's a chelik of the Agudah. When you have a yearning for Teda and a desire for Teda, will Teda, vartas deibish shall give him Teda. It's all a part of it. It's all a part of it. So Mela, that healed the neshama. Which, by the way, this is directly connected to the Teda of the Maggid of Mizrich, who said, "Sfartem lochem, meloshen sfiris ubehiris, lichtigkeit." Sfartem lochem. You have to make your lochem. The Alter Rebbe explains the Teda of the Maggid. Your lochem has to become lichtig. Zich allein machen lichtig. Be megala the light of your own neshama. Not just put yourself in an environment of holiness and ignore your own issues. Deal with your issues. With Sfartem lochem, you have to work at it, and you have to make yourself. You have to light yourself up. It's all Miroya Echad, Kapatish and Fates Seller, but it's Balates is talking about the Guf, the Chaim is talking about the Neshama, the Magid. It's all different sort of big hues of the same picture, all different shades of the same colors, the same idea.
My mother is 85 years old. It's the first time in her life she made a seder by herself. And she said, it's a good investment. So next year, if I follow the instructions of the Rabbanim, then next year I can join you for the Seder. I said,
it's Hashem.
Good investment.
Who's speaking? I don't see
Shmuel Lerman. I'm a spectator. I'm a spectator when I come to Akiva's house. For bringing.
No, that should change. I want to tell you something. I want to tell you something. I'm not saying. Every single time I spoke about it online. Obviously, I didn't speak in public. That I was interviewed by the media, or I spoke about it about people. Every time I spoke about people alone for the Seder, I Parshas started to cry. It was a heart selection. This is to me the biggest heart selection of Pesach. I'm very lucky. I had most of my children there. I was, Pesach. I didn't have guests, but a Yidl sitzen alone by a Seder is Pashat a heart selection.
My mother's Seder went till 1 o'clock in the morning. She took a Haggadah. And she just read it. She read all the stories in it.
Beautiful.
She said, I was in no hurry. And she said it was fine. She got through it.
Listen, Mikam Yisrael. It's a beautiful thing. But
I bet your grandmother hasn't sold Afikoyman in 80 years.
Yeah, that's right. I'm my grandmother, my mother.
I saw a beautiful story. I don't remember where I just saw it. That there was a mishpacha in Lakewood. There was somebody in a retirement home, and they never couldn't come out for Pesach. So there was somewhere nearby. There was another mishpacha, and they opened the porch or the window, and the lady who sat, this old woman, sat herself by a seder, was able to listen in and participate like across a yard. So she called her family after, and she said, it's mamash unbelievable. She said they had mamash all of Tati's minhagim, and they sang the songs, and it was mamash unbelievable. And she was, she was in tears. How she didn't imagine a seder would be so nice. And what's the story? The story is this mishpacha called up this other family. They told them about their mother. So they went and learned the minhagim, and they asked to teach them the songs, so they should be able to give this woman an experience. This is one thing. This whole matzav has brought out from us, the chesed that so many people have done. The balei chesed and the tzedakah, it's not to be believed. The sensitivity of people via yidige Trachtung at zweite Yid. Whatever. It's not. There's not. I don't want to speak about the situation in a positive way because it's a oyum v'neidike rachmanu litzan matzav where many people hoyel this year, many gedolim v'tovim were nifter. It's a oyum v'neidike matzav. Amanis yisemim. It's gefährlich a matzav. But veistach and the whole eitz of meser, and you have also there's a silver lining, as they say. We got problems, but you also have to know your milas also. The wissen milas atzmechet. Can't only beat ourselves up on all our failings. And we have to work on improving the things we do well. We do well. We should do it even better. Akiva told me that there was a whole raid lately, when you get to speaking about Mashiach now, and apparently
I didn't know if you wanted to go into overtime. I thought you were winding down, but yes.
Are we in overtime? Right.
No. I think it's important to finish it.
It's a good topic.
It's important. It's an important subject. I want to share something with you. It bothered me very, very much that people were going on the internet or making videos. This is fantastic, and it's mamish biblical. The Mashiach is coming. You can open the door. Eliyahu was going to be there with people. Spoke with Vados, and I thought first of all I felt it was terribly insensitive to families that were suffering, and it bothered me very, very much. It rankled me. And second of all, you became a navi. Everybody knows what's going to happen, and it very much concerned me that you're going to take people's hopes and build up people's hopes, and you don't know what's going to be. But what kind of it's wilde raid. It's selfish. It's insensitive. It's selfish, and it's dangerous. I didn't use this kind of verbiage at all. I thought it was wrong. I said to people that you should think, even the people alone by the Seder, there'll be more Yidden making a Seder this year, more Sdarim, not Echos, but Kamos, maybe than ever before in history. And I said it's amazing that the streets are closed, the Yidden are sitting. It's Halei Davaru. It is something, but I don't know what's going to be. The first day the Seder finished, the first night, I have a 10-year-old son. He burst into tears. He refused to leave a table. And it took me mamash 15, 20 minutes. He was inconsolable. Couldn't leave. I said, what is wrong? Who? What? Was somebody offended? Finally, it took him mamash a meshach zman to get the words out. He said, Tati, Mashiach didn't come tonight. I said, Levi, I told you Mashiach's going to come tonight. He said, no, but everybody was saying Mashiach's coming tonight. They didn't come. And the pshitas of a yingel. A yingel is gesetzes Seder. Beautiful boy, and he was waiting and waiting and waiting. And if him and the door opened, and Eliyahu didn't walk in, who takes Achrei for this? Who takes Achrei for this kind of wildkeit? And again, the insensitivity of speaking about a matzav where Yidden are suffering. People are gasping for breath, not knowing if they're alive in the morning, where you have people, Pashat, don't have the privilege of a normal avaya. Who has the chutzpah to speak about this? The Eibishter is resetting the world, and it's fantastic, and soon everything. So, having said all of that, but on the other hand, it's very important for us to know that al pi Torah, there has to be not only an emunah that Mashiach could come every day, but you have to be mechake legula every day, not because Corona's here. Every single day. The Rambam says that chol mi she'ein in maimin bei, u'mi she'einei mechake lebiyasei, hareze kaifer b'teiras leirak b'chol adviyim elo b'teiras meisha. This is halacha. This is Mishnah Torah. This is not made in Nevuchim. This is not a medrash. The Rambam is speaking halacha. The Rambam says that if you don't believe in Mashiach and you're not mechake, then you're kaifer b'teira b'meisha, my friends. This is an Eden Sazach. Every day we have to wake up in the morning And you have to be mitzapah Yeshua, and you have to hope, today is the day. A day when everything is fantastic, when you're in Victoria Lake and enjoying yourself, and a day when you're sitting at Shul Yom Kippur, or you're sitting by a Pesach Seder. Every single day, you have to be mechaka l'biyaseh. And by the way, if a Yid would be mechaka l'biyaseh every single day, it's konzeir gemold sein that he wouldn't do certain avedas too. It's very possible that if a Yid would go to a certain place, he would think to himself, "Vei is me. What if Mashiach comes now? He's going to find me in Ramah. How am I going to explain this?" I mean it seriously.
Rama vayom, umivcha shalisha.
Huh?
Rama vayom.
Rama vayom? What's that? Rama vayom. Okay.
Oh, Rama.
But I mean it seriously. I Yid laying in bed. Should I get up today? I'll sleep it through today. Should I learn my shiurim today? What if that's the day Mashiach comes? And I have egg all over my face like an idiot. Dafke the day Mashiach comes. I didn't know what I mean. I did it. Like seriously. If a Yid is mechakel every single day of his life, it's a big deal. It's not a little thing. And very interestingly, the Rebbe once said something. He said that if you look in the pasuk Yeshayahu, he says, "Elikim yasel mechakele." Elikim yasel mechakele. So you look in the Targum. The Targum says, "The misarvin lufrakancha," that they're waiting your porka, they're waiting your Yeshua. In other words, Elikim yaseh is not the pshat that, okay, it's a good idea to wait for Mashiach. Elikim yaseh lemechake. The chikui, the anticipation, the waiting for Mashiach, that itself is mizaras the geula. The same way a Yid believes by emunah shlema that when he learns a blad gemara that it's mizaras the geula, or he should believe it, and he gives a pruta to tzedakah, or he's kind to somebody, that he's mizaras the geula, that he eats a sher matzah, and he counts Firas HaEmer, that he's mizaras the geula because every single mitzvah the Rambam says in Chus Tshuva could be the mitzvah that weighs down the scale, and it could be maybe Yeshua v'Atzalah not only for him, that a chelik of this is also the chikui, lekim yasel mechake. Maybe part of the problem is people are taking out mechake for Mashiach, even if they believe that he could come today. It's not enough to believe Mashiach could come today. The Chidah in Midbar Kedema says something very interesting. He speaks about kivui.
Sorry, I just have just to refine it. There's no question, and Yossi said it to Reb Shmuel Klein too. I was disappointed, not because I haven't been disappointed before, but the setting was so ideal. It was Pesach. We were isolated. It looked like Pesach Mitzrayim. If this was color war breakout, I'm sure there were signs of the Geula in Mitzrayim too.
But color war breakout,
you knew it.
Color war breakout, the kids only wait for in the week when color war is supposed to happen. They don't wait for color war breakout in the first week. The Metzias is that nowhere does it say that you have to see signs before, or that we're going to know necessarily a half hour or 3 hours or 3 weeks before. It doesn't say that. The Rambam says a Yid wakes up in the morning, he has to be maimin, and he has to be mechake lebiyase. You know, my Zayd Alav Shalom used to say to me, steitach benissen nigelu benissa sidney goel. So okay, benissen nigelu sidney goel. It's a meveisach Mashiach can come yedetag. What's the pshat? Well, there's many ways of understanding pshat. One of the ways that Rebbe explains it is that the machlekes of Rebbe Shua Rebbe Lazar is that it's avedus tzadikim or avedus balichuva. What's the gedder of bias Mashiach? But even on a literal level, that there's days that are more propitious. There's days that are when a Yid feels the chikoy a little more. My Zayd Alav Shalom used to say to me every year, Mendele, Chedesh Nissen is da. Maybe. I literally saw, I could see it in my Zayda. My Zayda, by the way, for those of you who are thinking that he was a Yid that was influenced necessarily by Chassidus. He was brought up in an echt Litvische mishpacha. His mother is Einikol B'Shal Salanter. The Rabbanus around Vilna was all his uncles and great uncles in mishpacha. The Grossbard family, her maiden name was Grossbard. He was brought up in a Litvische mishpacha. Take, when he became a teenager, he went to the secret yeshiva in Russia because only his father told him he could see the einzige Yidden will be the Chassidim, and that's how my father's family comes to Chassidus. At least my father's father. But this didn't come, I don't think, from this was mamash like his upbringing. The whole Pesach was very much the way he saw by his parents, and that's like how I do my Pesach. It's very, very much under the influence of the generations of Yidden who lived in the Lita. And I know, the Chedesh Nissen came, he would say to me, he always was disappointed on Aleph Iyar. He was always disappointed. Doesn't mean he wasn't mechake. He was a Holocaust survivor, is mechake, but somehow it was more of a. So I understand the kiva. There was more. Like I'm not going to tell you that I didn't say. It really looked good this year. It was Leil Shimurim. It really looked good. But to say things with vados was wild and inappropriate and wrong. But at the same time, we have to speak like this about every single day. We have to speak about it to ourselves. We have to speak about it to others. To speak about it to our children. We have to talk about Mashiach constantly because that is the kavanah ha'elyena. That's the whole purpose of the whole bias the elamus. We did not come to this world to get through an obstacle course so we can get a big piece of heavenly chocolate cake and go to Gan Eden and sit back, laugh, and enjoy. We came to this world. The Eibishter wants a dira b'tachtenim. It's an open medrash, two places medrash tanchuma. Nesava kadosh baruch hu liyislei dira b'tachtenim, and it says kasem shesh dira b'elyenim kach nesava dira b'tachtenim. The Eibishter wanted this world to be a perfect world. The Eibishter wants us to bring Mashiach. I was saying to you that from the Chidah, Midwich Damers brings down a very big Yalkut until him. The Yalkut says, "Afilu ein biyad Yisrael, ela akivui kedayhem legeula b'schar akivui." Even if Yidden, the only schus they have, they erwarten, they're anticipating, they're waiting for Mashiach. Says this alone is enough. So the Chidah says a very big thing. He says, but this you can understand the bracha matbeh shetov chachamim, the bracha that chachamim made that they said. In Semer David Avdecha, Heidas Hatzmiach, and then it says, Ki lishuascha kvi nikol hayom. Frag the Chidah, what's ki? Ki means because. What's ki? What's because? So the Chidah said, this is the pshat ki. Semer David Avdecha, bet by the Meibish, Heidas Hatzmiach, ki. Vayle lishuascha. That's a reason, my friends. If the Yidden erwarten, if we await Mashiach and want Mashiach to come, and are waiting for a Gili Alakus. That's the key. Very good, Yossi. You're always on the money. You got every pun. Anyway, this is I wanted to leave you with this idea. So, like, on one hand, the wild and irresponsible, insensitive talk should be condemned, and I personally did condemn it in a very public way, and it bothered me very, very much. And I think it was not nice, Pasha. Not nice and wrong. I don't know. Nobody knows when Mashiach's coming. But we have to hope and anticipate for Mashiach's coming every single day, my friends. On the Eibush, there's a helping that we should taka be. We should taka be. Enough suffering by Yidden. And how much more does Eibush want from us? Enough already. We should say, we should be zeicha mirz Hashem to come together, not only in our shuls, which will be wonderful also, but we should be zeicha to come together in the Bayis Ashlishi, the eternal Beis Hamikdash, Mheira will be Ameinu Amen.
Amen.
Akiva, thank you for the privilege. And the Eibishter Zahalfen, we should continue to be mechazik each other. We should continue to learn Torah with each other. And like I said, I'm not going to say we should be zeicha that we should go to the oil. No, we should be zeicha to go to Yishlayim and HaKedesh. Forget the oil. We should be able to see all the tzaddikim, B'chaim Chayosam, Ba'alma Adain in the flesh, as they say.
Yochanan, you had a question?
No, I did have a question. I just along the lines. There's the first Shlomo that says, Agudah. I can't seem to remember it, but it's between Ben Zayma and the Chachamim. So by Bless Ben Azariah, Achrei Anika Ben Shivim Shana V'Loitz Techizi V'Temer Tzis Mitzrayim B'Laylos. So Dorsha Ben Zayma. And then it says the Chachamim don't say that, but they say Kol Yemei Chayecha as Lahavi Yemei Mashiach. That Kol Yemei Chayecha, what the first time Pshat Lahavi Yemei Mashiach. That Kol Yemei Chayecha, you should Lahavi Yemei Mashiach.
I didn't see it in the Teresh Shleima, but I did see it in the Haggadah's Beis Halevi. The Briskerov says it. The Briskerov, I don't know if he learned Teresh Shleima, but the Briskerov says it that Kol Yemei Chayecha. All the days of your life should be lahavi libeis hamashiyach.
Very nice, beautiful.
Tater for the brisket of.
I saw that the first Shlomo.
Okay, listen, they once asked Rav Gifter. He said over a chiddush which is very, very similar to something written on Likutei Sichos. So they say Rav Gifter used to look still a hate. He used to look. They said that Rav Gifter, the boys were learning Italian. Anyway, they saw the Sicha. Lubavitch Rebbe said something very similar 2 years ago. So he said, "No, am geht aber gleichen Weg trefft man sich."
Very good. Shekoyach Reb Mendel, thank you.
Yeah.
Be well.
Seid gesund, Jeden.
Good
Shadeh,
Shabbos. Thank you so much.
Surah
Thank
Davis, a
you.
good Shabbos.
For good
Shabbos.
Shabbos.
Full Shalom and good Shabbos.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.